Welcome to WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in mindset, weight loss, business, and more. Learn our top tips so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, feel unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified in emotionally focused therapy, and the founder of Empathy, a passionate entrepreneur driven to change lives for the better, striving to interact with clients as fellow travelers on life's journey, allowing them to easily dive deeper into their stuff with his down-to-earth philosophy. He spent years working with frustrated couples at a crossroads in their relationship when they were stuck, and that led him to create Empathy, inspired by attachment theory, improvisational dance and theater, experiential psychotherapy, and EFT. Empathy provides fun, effective, and simple solutions to help couples stop fighting and snuggle more. Welcome to the podcast, Figs O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Lisa. It was a lovely introduction. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here. I didn't pronounce your first name because I wasn't sure. So let's just tell our audience what's your real life first name.
Yeah, my given first name is Fiachra. It's an old Irish name, but I've been called Figs since I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. So Figs is stuck.
Well, Figs it is then. Let's jump into the content.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do so many people believe in mediocrity?
Why do so many people believe in mediocrity?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, tell me a little bit more. I want to make sure I understand what you mean by that when you say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I know sometimes it feels in life when we're in relationships that we just get what we get, and that's all we get, and settle for mediocrity, like in our relationships, whether it's a business or in our love life.
It's interesting. So it is interesting. Here's I tend to primarily come at that in relationship from a different direction, actually, just so you know, here's one of my sayings is that your search for perfection is the enemy of your good enough relationship.
Wow. Oh, so you come at it from the other
exactly. So that's when it comes to relationship, look, for sure, there are times where you should not be settling, but most of people's psychology and what they've been indoctrinated into, right, that it has to get better, right? Like I have needs, I should be treated like a queen, I should be treated like a king, whatever, all the different permutations.
I've been that person. I know what it's like to be a perfectionist.
Yeah. So look, the chances are, for the vast majority of people, that's actually what's getting you in trouble. Your relationship is good enough, and the way in which you keep trying to make it better, which usually involves, for most people, why don't I change my partner so they meet my needs better, right? That's actually what's getting you in trouble. So yes, let me repeat it. Your search for perfection in your relationship is the enemy of your good enough relationship right now. Your partner is good enough. You're good enough. Try and be who you are right now and come to know yourself, accept yourselves. And I'm going to use a technical term, if it's okay, in psychotherapy. You got to start loving the shit out of each other.
Oh, I love that. I feel like when we're trying to be perfectionistic, when you're like that type A person, then it does really bad damage to a relationship when you're sort of like, you go into it in the honeymoon phase and you're like, they're perfect. And then you see the things that are your perception of flaws, and then you start trying to change that person or judge them. Doesn't that drive a wedge between two people?
Yeah, it does, right? Because now what happens is, it's perfect. I like the way you describe it, right? We meet each other. It looks like we are there for each other in all the ways we longed for. And then inevitably, whether it's a day later, a week later, you have a 2-year honeymoon, whatever it is, you're going to have some moment where it looks like that promise has been broken. How come you're not prioritizing anymore? And then, of course, if, let's say, for example, if that's what you're feeling, it means your partner, spouse, lover, whatever way you describe them, right? They're now going to start feeling, how come I'm no longer enough for you? So you're both going to experiencing each other as failing to give the love that you promised. And both of you are going to start protesting that, whether you're a blamer, criticizer, asker of needs to be met, or whether you're a shutter down or get distracted defender of yourself. So now here's the tragedy. Both of you are going to create a system with each other that is going to reaffirm your worst stories of each other and is going to continue to grow that disconnection, like you said, grow a wedge. And it is an awful tragedy. Let me add one more thing. And 99% of the relationship advice out there actually supports people approaching relationship in this way. Now, ultimately, it's good for me because they're going to end up on my doorstep when they're heart. But I would love to help people earlier than when their heart's broken and they're like, hey, listen, we're embarrassed to say we just can't make it work. Let's just sort this out early and get some of those really bad bits of relationship advice out of the way.
Well, I'm so glad I'm getting to talk to you because I have been in all of these situations personally myself. And I find that communication style can really make a big difference. Like, let's say a trigger from your past comes up and something comes up in the relationship and it feels like, oh my God, they did a thing. Like, is there any style that you work with of communications with couples?
Yeah. Well, so here's another great misconception. You're asking great questions, right? Thank you. Right. So here's another misconception, right? Communication skills are not actually that important. You could imagine, of course, I take it seriously. Everybody comes to me and says, we want to communicate better.
Right.
Right. That is an outcome. Right. The outcome of a process of getting to know yourself, getting to understand your feelings, see the way you react when you're triggered, understand your partner, understand, oh, that's why they react that way. And then seeing, would you look at what we create together and we only create it together because we love each other? Living inside that narrative, that world, people communicate better. But if you start with, well, let me learn how to communicate better without all of that foundational work, the part of your brain that has learned how to communicate better will not be online the next time you don't feel prioritized or you feel like your partner's never happy with you. The part of your brain that's online when it looks like love is withheld is your amygdala, hypothalamus, your whole limbic system is actually in shock and in terror. And you're not going to have access to these amazing communication skills, nor will your partner, nor should you expect yourself to, nor should you expect your partner to. You're so important to each other. You get really scared. Of course, you'd be threatened and you ain't going to communicate well.
Yeah. So when you come about it from a place of love, that's more important than the communication styles, because I've been one of those people where you can put up walls if you're hearing stuff that's said that you don't like.
Right. Yeah. Well, you get hurt. You get threatened. Yeah. Right. You put up walls. But there are no people that actually put up walls for a living, or they do it because they like to. They do it because they get scared. And why would they get scared? Because I just saw something that maybe I'm not safe with you. So and because being safe with you is so important to me, I'm going to put up a wall. So let's say that's what's true, hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
So you put up a wall because you love the person. But the other person only sees you put up the wall and they think you're putting up a wall because you don't love me, because you don't trust me. But that's not actually what's happening. It's not happening for you. And so helping you really understand what's happening and actually be the vulnerable person before you put up the wall, or at least after you put up the wall, we could take it back down and look, I just got scared. I'm going to get hurt again. So I put the wall up. And then the other person gets it. Oh my God, I thought you were putting the wall up because you don't trust me anymore. But it turns out it's just because you long to be safe with me. And then they say, come here. And you say, no, you come here. And you give each other a big hug and a kiss and you touch each other's noses. Give each other, rub the top of each other's heads, whatever way you repair after a fight.
Well, I love that you bring up vulnerability, because that's such an important thing when you talk about the masks that we put up, trying to be perfect. And
yeah,
How important is vulnerability in relationship, and how can we feel safe to be vulnerable about the things that are hard to be vulnerable about?
Well, it's everything, right? Vulnerability is the currency of connection. That's my own quote. But
Love.
vulnerability is the currency of connection, right? So, but here's the thing. This is another really important misconception. People are always trying to feel the second thing, not the present thing. So let's say the present feeling is I'm not safe, I got to put up a wall. Before we can get to the you that's actually really at the core, which is actually scared, we have to validate and meet and understand the wall builder. So the first feeling we need to feel is not the vulnerable one. We need to feel and support, like, hey, what's going on with this wall? Yeah, they're not safe. I got to build this. And so by validating and welcoming the wall builder, eventually the wall builder will go, hey, I think I could actually trust this person to let myself feel. I just get scared. I got hurt before. I don't get hurt again. And so we go like, oh, there's someone else down there that's vulnerable. So this is the thing. Everybody's always rushing to feel like I'm supposed to feel the vulnerable feelings. Not yet. Not yet. It's a process to get to where it's safe to feel the vulnerable feelings. And with a couple, it's a three-legged race. We got to get to a place that you're actually doing it in lockstep together. You can't have one person sharing their vulnerability while the other person is still carving a knife in the background to protect themselves, right? It's not going to work out well for you to share your vulnerability when the other person is still feeling threatened. So that's why we have to, the first work, and this is another revolutionary part of the work we do, is instead of getting people to communicate better, share their vulnerability, the first thing we have to do is get you to a place that we call de-escalation, that you both know we're both hurting, we both hurt each other, and it only happens because we love each other. When you live inside of that world, now we can start sharing vulnerability, and the other person catches you and loves that part of you that's vulnerable.
I love that approach to vulnerability. It's such a key word these days, but it's good to break it down. Like, and I know this relationship stuff is so important because of how many divorces there are, obviously, and I know myself what it feels like to be in painful relationships. How does this apply to work and actually relationships at work and trying to be a high performer? Like, how can we instill this kind of mindset for growth into organizations, because everything is communication, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So here's what I would say the most important thing to do is start accepting that the emotional internal world and the emotional systems that happen between you and other people are part of reality. You cannot go, emotions are irrational. Let's get just busy on the task at hand, right? You're literally going to continue to hurt the people that work with you, right? Because just think of it for a moment. You're incredibly important to your employees. You're incredibly important to your business partners, right? You're incredibly important to your vendors, right? They are incredibly important to you. There's two basic needs in relationships where people are actually important to each other. Yeah. And that is, are you there for me, or am I enough for you? And if you're ever talking to someone from the place where it looks like you're not there for me, they're going to feel like they're not enough for you. And of course, when someone is talking from a place of I'm not enough for you, the other person is going to feel like they're not there for you. So you're probably creating these negative emotional systems with your business partners, your employees all the time. And instead of trying to get out of it, please first accept it is the reality. It's like if I told you the sun sets in the west and you're going, I don't like it, Figs. Let's work on having it set in the east. Look, I'm sorry. This is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Stop fighting the reality of how we're built as human beings.
I love that. Stop fighting the reality, because so many times I see high performers getting in their own way because of their ego. So is there a way to not be taking it so personally all the time? If something happens and it's not perfect the way you expect it to be, to not take it personally as a leader in business?
Yeah. Well, so again, it's interesting. It's always paradoxical. So when you take something personally, it means that there is some way of being met by the world that didn't happen, and it hurts. And it hurts. So we actually want to go into understanding, right? What is it I didn't get on a fundamental level? Not like I didn't do the $1 million in sales this month, right? But if you're taking it personally, there's some way in which I don't feel lovable, good enough, met by the world, like I'm alone. All right, I have to do everything myself. There's some painful emotional experience you're having, and we'd actually want you to try and deeply feel that, not try and get rid of it. So
Right.
this is the paradox. Like
Feel it first.
yeah, we'd actually go down into it and then actually be able to communicate, hey, listen, I get really hurt when like when we don't hit the numbers and it looks like I'm mad at you, my sales team. Just to be clear, you're right. I'm mad at you. It makes sense. It sucks for you. But what's actually happening is I just got scared inside. So at least afterwards, you could go back and be honest with people. Hey, you know, the way I just made this all about you and the way you were failing, I did that blaming, criticizing thing I do when I'm actually scared. I'm a scared person, right? What a different way to be in the world that, you know, you can still like, look, drive for your $1 million in sales every month, but at least do it knowing who you actually are and what the impact you have on other people when your vulnerable, unmet love needs and love in relationship to the world, not just your primary partner, when they're being rubbed up against, you end up acting in ways that are really painful for other people.
Wow. Keep going. I'm sorry. This is powerful stuff. That's all I was going to say is this is powerful stuff. If people could get to that level of vulnerability at work, they could build such more cohesive teams that are ultimately more productive, more successful, less absenteeism. I mean, less quiet quitting. I just think this is really important in the workplace.
Yeah. Well, look, one of the things I think is really important to know, right? Let's say I'm imagining a lot of your listeners are the boss, right? Let's say, right? If you are the boss, you have to understand it's just not a two-way street emotionally. You are more like in the role of a parent. And so your primary job as a parent is you have to make the people feel like you're there for them. They're enough for you. And what I call, no, you cannot kick the dog. Right? You have to keep them safe, right? Like there are some boundaries, right? No, you cannot smoke pot and work because that's not what we do. And I don't want you to get in trouble. Right. So, but they're actually loving, caring gestures. You are enough for me, right? I'm here for you. And like, I'm going to create the structure of this company and keep us on mission so that we all safely do what we're supposed to do. Now, so if you imagine letting those three principles guide how you show up and interact with the people on your team. But what I was saying about it's a one-way thing, if you're looking for your employees to be helping you feel like they're there for you, you're enough for them, and they're keeping you safe, you're going to be hugely disappointed. And unfortunately, when you're disappointed, you're probably going to talk to them in a way that makes them feel like this fella's not our woman or them. They're not there for me. I'm not enough for them. They're not keeping me safe. And now they're off on Indeed or LinkedIn networking, looking for another job, right? So look, again, you just have to accept, like, you can't be looking for your employees to meet your needs. And you probably, they have a job to do. That's fine. But you probably are.
Yeah.
You probably are in some unconscious way.
It's not even just your team. It's your like people that are at your own level.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Your own level. Yeah, I don't know exactly your own level.
Yeah.
You're doing this with your manager, your boss, right? Like, again, people could say, like, we should just be doing it. This shouldn't be part of the relationship at work. And look, again, the sun sets in the west. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it is.
Yeah.
Stop living your life like, no, I'm going to go look at the sunset tonight in the east. I just am. I don't care, right? Like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah. No, I love this, how it translates so much into all of the pain in relationships that we're all going through and in business and helping business. So, Figs, you're freaking awesome. Where can people find more of you?
Yeah. So the easiest is just my website, empathy.com, and it's empathy with an I on the end, not a Y on the end. I couldn't, that guy wouldn't sell me empathy with a Y on the end. So I had to kind of jimmy rig and empathy. Like,
It's
just
cool. I
thank
think
you.
it's cool. Empathy.com.
Yeah.
And are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, my LinkedIn, I think it's Fiacra Figs, FIACHRAFIGS. And then almost all the social media is empathy with an I in the end
Okay.
now. But yeah, that's
Empathy Now. I just love the name. What was one more time that quote about vulnerability?
vulnerability is the currency of connection.
I love that. Thank you so much. Anything you
Yeah.
want to leave our audience with that
No, look,
cover?
thank you for listening. I would just the very first thing, I know I was really taken aback when you said, why do so many people like believe in mediocrity? Um, Remember, right? Your search for perfection is the enemy of your good enough relationship. You guys, if you're having a hard time, you probably are just misunderstanding how you love each other so much that you're both getting threatened inside, and then you're both scared. And remember, it's only happening because you love each other. You're good enough, both of you.
All right. Thanks, Biggs. I love that. Thanks for driving that point home.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks for coming to Whole CEO with Lisa G. After over 20 years helping people lose weight and get fit, I'm so excited to announce that I found the missing link with my coaching. Message me if you want to learn how to look better, feel better, and go faster with a master. Lisa G at lisagfit.com.